Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Vince Gray. I'm from the D.C. government, and we're open for business. And we're going to do everything to stay open for business also. I won't do my routine on that one. I think you all have your own conclusions and impressions of that. And if anybody has a positive one, I certainly would like to hear it. I haven't heard much yet. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here before you today with our outstanding chief, Kathy Lanier. Yeah, the essential chief, along with other members of our essential MPD. Hey, by the way, didn't our first responders do a great job at the Navy Yard on the 16th? Very, very proud of them. The first, folks from MPD were on the scene in 2 minutes. I think they had engaged with the shooter within 7 minutes, I think it was. Yeah, 7 minutes. So I want to thank Chief Ellaby. I want to thank Chief Lanier. I want to thank our Homeland Security leadership. And I also want to thank our Deputy Mayor Paul Quander, who does a terrific job helping to coordinate our public safety entities in the city. Paul, I want to publicly thank you, too, for your work at the Navy Yard on the 16th of September. Thank you very much. In any event, we're here to dedicate the new tactical village, and we're here, of course, at the Metropolitan Police Department Training Center. It's another piece in my administration's priorities to employ strategies that ensure that our police officers are equipped and prepared and working smart to ensure that every neighborhood in the District of Columbia is safe. Again, I want to applaud the chief and the teams at MPD, as well as the Department of General Services, which just celebrated, what is today, the 2nd of October? Yeah, they just celebrated their 2nd anniversary yesterday. They became an agency October 1st, 2011, and really have done a pretty extraordinary job, I think, in helping to organize our construction and maintenance work in the district government in a very different way. And all you have to do is look at some of the building projects in which we've engaged to see how the work is being done differently and being done in a very efficient and rapid way. June, where's June? Oh, there she is, okay. Representing, June Locke is representing Director Brian Hanlon today. She's the Deputy Director for Capital Construction Services, and was responsible for making sure this center got done, right, June? We're on the grounds of the old MPD shooting range. How many of you all saw that before? Good, okay, and you know what all this entails. The new facility will greatly enhance the skills of new police recruits and the continuing education of our seasoned officers. The tactical village will help to ensure that our first responders are properly trained and prepared to provide a coordinated, comprehensive response and prevent and tackle homeland security risks to the nation's capital. This village is an invaluable asset and continues to add on to our arsenal of weapons, if you will, here at the training academy and the surrounding areas. The center includes a simulated police station, an office and school complex, a housing development, and retail in the form of a convenience store and a bank. On the premises also is a gas house where recruits and officers will be trained to use tear gas, pepper spray, and other non-lethal weapons. The Tactical Village is the only facility of its kind in the District of Columbia and is the largest indoor facility in the region. This facility, I think, is yet another example of why the District of Columbia is a model in law enforcement and on the cutting edge when it comes to facilities, training, and associated opportunities. I want to thank also Chairman Phil Mendelson, who many of you will know, for so long chaired the public safety function within the council. And I know he is proud. He's not with us today, but I know he's very proud of this having been completed. As a matter of fact, I think he has found it very hard to give up the public safety function, because lots of times when I meet with him, we start out by talking about public safety. And I say, Chairman, you don't have public safety anymore. But he's very interested in it, to say the least. In any event, I want to now introduce to you our chief, Kathy Lanier, who will be followed by Terry Straub, who is co-chairman, of course, of the DC Police Foundation, and then we'll hear from June Locker, who will talk on behalf of DGS. Chief?
My comments short. I'll do most of my talking as we do the walkthrough. I just want to make a couple of key comments here before I turn this over to the DC Police Foundation and Terry. One is, as you know, in 24 years working in the city, I have seen the evolutions of the threats we face change time and time and time again, watching not only locally what happens in our communities, but what happens globally around the world. It constantly presents challenges for local law enforcement. And in Washington, D.C., it presents challenges with the number of law enforcement agencies, both federal and local, in the national capital region, that it's really, really invaluable to have a facility where we can bring our partners from law enforcement, both federal and local, from Maryland, Virginia, and the district together, and train in a realistic environment like this. So while it is important to note that we do go out into our communities and train in real-life environments, real communities, real office buildings and real school buildings, doesn't always provide the opportunity we need to do some of the more tactical training. This facility now does. So we will be able to do different types of training we were not able to do before. So what you'll see here today is you'll see our SWAT team doing some rappelling. The facility has been designed so that they can do very specific tactical training. You'll see a canine demonstration. You'll see our bomb squad operate. You'll see a demonstration with a robot. All of those things really require a very realistic environment. And these are not scenarios we can practice out in public. So this facility will allow us to do that 365 days a year, because it's completely enclosed, climate controlled. You've seen the BAFs. For those of you who don't know what they are, you'll see them. And it gives us an opportunity to really provide and replicate hundreds of different environments that we may encounter while we're out there. It was just September 16th that tragedy struck us here in Washington, D.C., and I commented that day and the several days after walking through Building 197, that environment that our officers went into was really a tactical nightmare. 630,000 square feet of office space with 6-foot-high cubicles, hundreds of them. So to encounter, for the teams, so many teams, multi-agency teams, to enter a building like that, encounter fire from a suspect, encounter the horrific scene they encountered, and for them to perform so well with such heroism was impressive. So now having a facility like this, we can take everyday scenarios and things that we encounter out in our community and replicate them here and continue to train in those environments. Every officer I spoke to that entered that building on the 16th said the same thing. Once we got in the building, the training just took over. And so that's what the value of this facility is. Now we can train longer, more scenarios with more partners all year round. And so to me, that is invaluable. I want to just real quick, I would be remiss if I didn't thank some people that were instrumental in getting this done. This is a unique facility. It is unique to local law enforcement around the country. Very few of these exist for local law enforcement. It is unique to the National Capital Region for us. So this would not have been possible, obviously, without the support of the mayor, who has stuck with it and committed to let's getting this multi-year project built and not have anything sidetrack us from that. Deputy Mayor Quander, who's been in every aspect of the criminal justice system and understands the importance of this facility. Also the DGS team, who has overseen this entire project just tremendous work in this building, very complicated things that were put into the building that you'll hear some about when DGS speaks, but to oversee all of that as this project rolled out was very important. And lastly, I want to recognize the DC Police Foundation, and particularly Terry Straub, who kind of adopted this project from the beginning, and over the past few years has really made sure that nothing got derailed and that everything kept moving forward. He'll talk a little bit more about some of the other support that we received, but without people like Terry and the DC Police Foundation outside of the government helping us push important projects through, things like the Tactical Village wouldn't happen. So thank you, Terry, for your commitment to us and to the police officers, and really what it's about. The most important thing is every police officer comes to work every day, goes home every day. And if they do that and they train well, then we prevent other people from losing their life and make the city safe. And that's what it's really all about, and that's what this facility is about. So thank you, Terry and DC Police Foundation, and I'll turn it over to you, Terry.
Thank you, Chief. I'll be brief. Mayor Gray, Deputy Mayor Quander, and Kathy, and Chief Hansen is here. We are sorry Phil Middleton's not with us. He was so instrumental in helping us get the project off the ground. General Schwartz, we were scheming about this years ago, and many others. So I just want to say, I remember 6-7 years ago, we had a conversation with you and Lois was around at the time. We said, what if money was not an object and time was not an object, what would your wish list be? And right at the top of it was Tactical Village. So the foundation took it on, and we have other projects along the way, great projects for kids and others. But we never lost sight of this one. And we recruited studio architects to help us with the early planning. They did a tremendous amount of pro bono work. And we went out and surveyed the surrounding areas for the facilities like this, and there's not much. There's not much here. The feds have some nice facilities, but the feds have all the money. And Fairfax, the mayor says apparently not. He's right. So we thought this would be great to establish one here and have it be state-of-the-art, one of the best in the country, and that is what we have ended up with. So studio architects sketched out some ideas. We went to Phil Mendelson. We asked for help. Phil responded right away. He was chairman, as the mayor said, of the Public Safety Committee at the time. Gave us $1 million in the first year to remediate the ground. This is, the mayor reminded us, was the old outdoor firing range, so there was a tremendous amount of work to get the ground cleaned up, all the lead, get it out of there. And then we went back the next year, and he allocated $5 million. And, you know, the bureaucracy grinds slowly. We went through many years of remediation, of design, of planning, and approvals, and finally construction. And Kathy, God love her, protected that money the whole time, because there were, I'm sure, 100 different places you could have spent that along the way. So that was a very big deal. So now this is what we have, and it is, I say, state-of-the-art. There's already a tremendous amount of inquiry from other police departments, PDs in the region and the area, and the feds who want to come in and use it. And I think Kathy will let them come in for a handsome fee, and nobody's coming in here for free. And they'll come here and do their work also. So we have two essential purposes here. That's what this facility is about. Number one is to train the responders to maneuver in real-life conditions, domestic disputes, traffic stops, active shooters in buildings, and so on. So they can save lives and they can interrupt the chaos and the terror and put it down as occurring. And secondly, you know, I think it's important for us, and Kathy referenced this, to say we owe it to our cops to make sure they go home to their families at the end of the day. That's what this is about, to train them so they can protect not only us, they can protect themselves. And we owe it to the public to have the best chance to survive the Columbines or the Auroras or the Navy Yards. I asked Kathy 3 years ago, I said, what keeps you awake at night? And their instant, right off the top of her head, she said, a Mumbai-type incident, an active shooter incident. And that's what we are faced with in today's culture. So I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your support. Thank you, Paul, for your support. Thank you, Kathy, for all of your help and support, for protecting the money. That was so big. I mean, it's such a big deal. I want to thank the board of the foundation, who have been hearing about this now for years, and we're going to cease and desist now that you've seen it. We can talk about other things going forward. I want to thank a couple of guys here on the ground. Danny Lee, who's not here today, who's been a great supporter of us all along. Paul Riley, who's around here, who's now famous for having his picture on the front page of the New York Times. I want to thank Sean McCarthy, who's here, who did the execution on this building and did it beautifully, and it came through. He'll be happy to never have to hear from us again, I'm sure. And Brian Pilot, who's here from Studio Architects, who gave us the original pro bono work and then carried on through with the project. So with that, thank you all for coming. Enjoy the tour, and we'll look forward to seeing you outside. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I bring you greetings from Brian Hanlon, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but he did want to send his congratulations to the mayor and Chief Lanier and Deputy Mayor Quander and the Police Foundation and the Metropolitan Police Department. Recently, we've done a whole bunch of ribbon cuttings for schools, playgrounds, and parks, and today it's very exciting for us to show everyone that showcase that DGS does more than just schools, parks, and playgrounds, which is fine still. But and so as we strive to continue enhancing our public safety functions within the city and our existing portfolio of buildings, this construction project gave many opportunities to delve into some interesting things that we've touched on a little bit already. But some of the things that we did for this project were to conduct soil abatement to some of the existing firing range, which there was a lot of abatement that was done, so that was interesting. Chief Lanier had spoken a little bit about the BAFs. We installed 16-footers, so when you do the tour, you'll get to see what we're talking about. There's night. This facility provides night scenario. We can do night scenario training, which is very interesting. We have the breakable windows and doors, which was something that we typically don't do. In our schools, we try to make them not breakable. So that was, let's see. And again, this was something that was completely unique that we haven't really done before. It was a culmination of a lot of different projects that we've worked on, and so it was very interesting. One of the things is that it's flexible and durable and a one-of-a-kind training facility, and we were really proud to be able to provide this to MPD and to the new recruits. I know that I feel safer that as somebody who works, plays, and lives in DC, that this is something that I can wake up in the morning and say, wow, this is great. I would like to make sure that we thank a lot of the project team that worked on this project. First, I'd like to thank Alam Alami and Ajay Hargrove, who works for DGS, who is the project manager and program manager for this project, and Sean McCarthy, who was instrumental in coordinating between MPD and DGS. Also, the architects, Brian Pilot from Studio Architectures, Guy Razi from SKNA, SETI and Associates, who were the mechanical. I think Raj is here. Bowman, the civil, and Haley and Aldrich, the geotechs on the project. Also, City Construction, who is a general contractor for this project. Want to make sure that they are ACBE, and we are very proud to have them complete a big project like this for the city. As part of DGS's mission, we strive to build great buildings on time and on budget. But the other thing is that we always want to incorporate sustainability and economic inclusion goals. So with that, this building is targeted to be LEED Silver, and also there are three DC residents, three residents of DC who worked on this project. And again, the GC on this project was ACBE. So we're very happy about that also. So with that, I thank you, and Please, if there are any questions, please feel free. We'll be around to answer any of the construction questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to count down. 3, 2, 1. All right.
You'll notice as they enter the building, they do something to knock out the window. They also, when they go in, do that same thing. They actually thought of everything in the back of the building.
Okay, please get them off. Please get them off. Oh, this hurts. I'm not gonna run from a dog ever again.
Thank you.
This building is on the site of the old shooting range. Where has the shooting range been relocated to?
The shooting range that was here hadn't been used in years. We have an indoor range that we use now, but we hadn't used this range site for firearms training for some time, so it was dormant. We used it for some other types of training, but we had not used it for firearms training. We have a relatively new, pretty new firearms training range indoors.
And what role did DC Police Foundation play in this building, construction of this
DC
building?
Police Foundation, and then Terry's here, he can answer more specifically, but worked to help support the project to make sure that they brought in pro bono work. Terry, you want to talk about the architect?
I didn't do that, Mr. Mayor. Wasn't me.
What was your question?
The role of the foundation in supporting the project.
The foundation's role was to help secure the funding, secure the architectural design, work with the city to move the project along, make sure that the input from the department from the very beginning, the point was that this was for the cops, and they had to tell the project folks what they needed and wanted and how they would, what they needed to train best. And our job was to continue to try to push those elements together and keep the project moving along, and to work with the chief to protect the money, because as you all know, that there are a lot of calls on tax dollars, and particularly in the public safety domain. And thanks to Kathy and the mayor, we were able to keep that together and bring the project to what you see today.
I'm slightly confused now. The funding came from the District of Columbia, so what role did the DC Police Foundation play when you say that you secured the funding and the architectural design?
We worked with the city. We worked with the city council to secure the funding, solicited the funding, and made the case, the argument for the building of the facility, along with the chief, and that was our early role in the project.
Did you choose the architect?
Well, the architects actually came to us, studio architects came to us early on pro bono. We had about $300,000 or $400,000 worth of pro bono work from them. We reached out to them through some folks who were on our board, the foundation board, that were involved with the Clark Construction and the Clark Foundation, that put us on to studio architects who worked with us for the early design.
To the mayor, I thought that we have a DC Department of General Services that is supposed to be responsible for securing the architect, overseeing projects like this. So what was the relationship between DGS and the Police Foundation and MPD?
Yeah, I was just confirming with Terry that, remember, DGS has been in place for just 2 years as of yesterday. Some of this work and the work they did in securing pro bono architects, he just confirmed they actually did before there was a DGS. Anybody have any other questions on the building and the demonstration?
The work of the foundation, the investment, if you will, of the foundation was sweat equity on our part, 5-6 years of effort to keep marshaling the project along.
What was the pro bono work?
The pro bono work was done by early on by the architectural firm primarily, and that was, as I said, several $100,000 worth of pro bono work.
The total cost was about $5 million.
Pardon?
The total cost was about $5 million.
5 million, 5.5 plus another $6 million, everything in, which included the remediation of the ground. Remember, this was the old outdoor firing range, and it had decades of lead in the ground that had to be remediated and cleaned to environmental
Drainage issues.
many drainage issues to environmental standards before permits could be issued to build the project.
Foundation didn't raise any private money that went into this.
That's correct. We did not.
June, can you confirm the role that DGS played in this, recognizing that you all have been around the last 2 years of this effort?
Yes. So So the role of DGS was to design and construct. So we did get a concept drawing from studios, and we went and did the rest. Did all of the construction drawings and then did the construction.
Can I just say one thing, though? Just to be clear about the foundation and its interaction with the police department, the police foundation is involved with the police department on a number of projects over the year. Absolutely. The police foundation raises private sector money of about $1 million a year to fund projects for kids, for students, high school, grade school, elementary, summer camps, etc. This was a little bit outside of our comfort zone, this kind of a project, but we are involved intimately with the police department on a regular basis, financially supporting programs for children all across the district.
One more question on that. You yourself said nobody was going to come here without paying a fee. Were you being facetious, or were you being serious?
I was being facetious. There's been a tremendous interest uptick of interest by regional PDs in the facility because it is by far the best. I will say this, there will be wear and tear on this facility, and there will be an obligation, it would seem to me, this is really up to the chief, not up to us, as to how that will be compensated for. If you come in and use a place, it seems to me you ought to be obliged to help do the upkeep.
New subject? Other than this?
Yes.
Well, let's hold on, make sure we have no other questions. Is that it for this?
In terms of going forward, since the Police Foundation plays such a large role in getting it constructed, who determines the policy? Who's going to determine any use fees? And who's going to determine any administrative issues?
Yeah, that would be the city. And specifically, the Metropolitan Police Department, under the chief's leadership, would be involved in that.
That's why I'm confused in terms of, I would normally have thought even construction of this would have been under the chief's leadership, working with the city, as opposed to bringing in the Police Foundation. That's why I'm confused.
Well, I think the Police Foundation has made an enormous contribution to the city. You heard Terry talk about the projects to which they have contributed. I think we're very blessed. I've been to award ceremonies where they've honored police units, individual police officers for extraordinary work. So I look at their contribution as a huge bonus to the city. And at the end of the day, if it's a project of the city is going to ultimately make that decision. It doesn't mean, however, that we wouldn't turn to the Police Foundation and say we need one or another kind of help in order to get that done. And they've been wonderful in being able to do that.
Just so you know, what the Police Foundation's role initially was, just because the police chief wants to have this type of training facility built, you have to have support from a lot of people for the funding to be allocated for that and to be maintained for that. And as Terry said, the foundation was instrumental in meeting with city council members, meeting with council member Mendelson and all of those folks to help illustrate. I mean, sometimes people don't just listen to me, Dorothy. When I say we need something, it was instrumental having the Police Foundation speak on behalf of the police department as well and say we need this kind of facility, and here are the reasons why we need this kind of facility. So what Terry alluded to in the very beginning, the concept of this, and then having those initial drawings, the initial concept, makes this a real project. So for the foundation to get the pro bono work, just to have the concept design done so we can then move forward with a real design and a real project and real money was really important in the very beginning. So without their help in getting those things done, I don't know that we would have been able to push this all the way through to the end.
All right, that's it on this issue. Let's go on to other questions that the media may have on other subjects.
We're in the second day of the shutdown. How is the city doing overall dealing with the loss of business? People aren't going to the restaurants and the lunch counters and things like that. How is the city doing overall, and what do you think of Ms. Norton's failed effort so far on the Hill to get a law passed to exempt the city rather than do what you're doing?
Well, let me answer the last question first. We obviously are deeply appreciative of the work that she did. We had consulted with her along the way. We knew it was coming. We did some work ourselves to try to convince people, not very successfully, obviously, that this bill should be passed. One of the things that is dispiriting, frankly, is to see what happened, and that is we had those who had been blamed for the shutdown in the first place supporting the bill, and those who were not allegedly involved in creating the shutdown who did not support the bill. You know, you've heard the reasons for it, and that is the administration in particular did not want to have a piecemeal bill. But the case that was obviously lost, and that is we're not a department of the federal government. This is not piecemeal. This is properly extricating the government, the city of the District of Columbia, with the people that we have from a process that we shouldn't be involved in the first place. I think that people realize that, and whatever their reasons may be, they have chosen not to do that. So we still are stuck in something that we shouldn't be involved in the first place. As far as the city is concerned, overall, I think we're doing well. There's no question that this we don't know the magnitude of the economic impact as yet on the city, but when you have all of these federal workers who are in the city, many of whom live in the city, not spending money, not doing business in the District of Columbia, that is bound to have an economic impact. We've talked with the CFO, and he estimates there could be an impact of around $6 million a day on the city. And I don't know how we could possibly recoup that time, to be honest with you.
Mr. Mayor, can you just give your personal reaction to watching the members of your own party overwhelmingly oppose the bill that went to the House floor last night?
It was hugely disappointing, Mike, because I thought that they could make the case that, you know, this wasn't about the Veterans Administration, this wasn't about the Park Service, this was about a city that had no business being included in this in the first place, and at the first opportunity should be exempted from this process. And that case was not made in deference to not wanting to take a piecemeal approach. Again, I think the argument could have been made. I think Mrs. Norton tried to make the argument. I think Darrell Issa, I was very impressed with his representation and his support for the city on the floor yesterday. But I don't think it's that difficult to understand that we're not a department of the federal government. And that case was not effectively made enough to be able to get approval of us being exempted from the process.
Serrano, who I know you've worked with in the past.
I have not talked to him.
He was with the rest of the Democrats in opposing this, and he's someone who's gotten awards for being in front of the district.
That's exactly right. And I watched him apologize, saying he didn't want to see Mrs. Norton for the next 2 or 3 days because of what he did yesterday. I really think it is unconscionable that the District of Columbia continues to be caught in a situation that is of no making of ours. People understand what budget autonomy is. People understand that we raise our own money, $6 billion, and I hope they understand that we contribute $3.5 to $4 billion in federal taxes to the government of the United States, that we have no business being involved in this, and every day that goes by, it is an unconscionable, reprehensible shame that we continue to be included in this nonsense.
Someone feel like a pawn, though?
I know, absolutely feel like a pawn. And it doesn't even feel like a chess game. A chess game has a certain intellectual quality about it.
Two-part question. Have you received any back-channel threats, per se, from leadership on the Hill for your position? And secondly, is there a point in this stance that you've taken with making everybody essential in the city that the city would have to not be able to go on because of the funding?
Well, first of all, I've not received any threats, and I hope people know better than that. That would be the wrong thing to do with me. I don't know what they would threaten me with, to be honest with you. What would helping to represent the people of the District of Columbia? If that's the threat, I'll take that any day. No, I have not received any threats, and we have submitted our plan to OMB. We had further conversations with them on Monday. That plan still is essentially as we presented it. We simply fleshed out further details. You can go on the website, because OMB has now posted it to their website, and you can see what is there. I am not absolutely sure what the plan entitles us to. Before, when the plan was done a couple of years ago, it would have entitled us to be able to spend money and expect it to be legitimately spent because the plan had been accepted. That would have been about 2/3 of the employees of the District of Columbia. I take the position that if our plan has been accepted, which I construe this to be, nobody has said that, but that's the process they followed, that means that every employee is essential in the District of Columbia. All the operations, I should say, are essential for the District of Columbia. In terms of our contingency funds, we have about 2 weeks of funds available to us. There could be more. We're working to see if there could be more. We think that there's some legitimate ways for that to be done. But obviously, at some stage, we could be faced with the question of, have we entered the area of being in non-compliance with the Anti-Deficiency Act? And then that will be an interesting debate. Yes.
If this does keep going on, if we do go through all the contingency funds, is that something that what you're going to plan to do, or you're going to try to use other funds that are kind of just what's the plan if we do reach that point?
Well, we are looking at that now. We're working with the CFO around the possibility of some of our other funds being available to us. I think you all know, and this probably proves the point of the importance of it, we have $1.5 billion in our general fund balance, Not all of those are contingency funds, obviously. They have a variety of other purposes. But we're working with the CFO to see how much latitude we have there. There certainly could come a point when we are out of funds that we can, quote unquote, legitimately use, and then it really is as they say, it's really a throwdown then. Yes, Mr. Brazil.
Yesterday, the council, at your request, adopted emergency legislation to deal with the shutdown. There's a provision in that bill which I don't understand, and I was wondering if you could clarify for me. It allows for the executive branch of government to continue employing essential personnel, and the mayor may accept and compensate volunteers. Who are these volunteers, and what is that provision addressing?
I'm not sure. I think it may go back to the legislation, the fundamental legislation, that is, people can't volunteer to work. If that's what they mean, people who are furloughed as a result of this, we are not furloughing anybody in the first place. Everyone is considered essential. So if that is what their intent was, I don't know that it was necessary, but I think you'll have to talk to Chairman Mendelson to find out exactly what their intent was.
Wasn't this your bill that you sent to the council?
No, they crafted that bill themselves. Mike and then Paul, and then we'll quit.
Mr. Mayor, another thing the council took up yesterday was the primary date. They talked about moving it from April 1st to June. They declined to do that, which means that ballot petitions will be ready for pickup on November 8th, I believe. That gives you about 2 months to announce your intentions, I would think. Can we expect to hear from you in that period? When can we expect to hear from you about that? You have not been bailed out by the council.
You can say with a certainty today that you will hear from me at such point that I make up my mind. Paul, you get the last question.
Mr. Mayor, I'm a cop reporter, so this financial stuff I'm not clear on. So, is there a period of time where you believe that the city could lose money that you will not get back?
No, that's the irony of all of this, and that is once our budget is approved. Let me just walk through this, and for those who know all this, forgive me for going through this, but I submitted a budget to the council at the end of March. They went through 56 days of hearings and eventually adopted a budget. That budget was ready for implementation on October 1st, yesterday, 2014. We are spending now within the constraints of our budget. What will happen is the budget, because we've spent things on things that we would have spent in the budget that hasn't been available to us because it hasn't been appropriated, inappropriately so, by the Congress of the United States. The money that's contained in that budget initially will be used to reimburse the contingency fund because we would have spent it out of the budget. That will put us back to where we were, in essence, if we were a Monopoly game, we'd be back to go. All right, thank you all very much.